to discuss some of the issues. What I like to say is this really is about a micro level, because talking about regulatory and business framework or arising out of COVID-19, you really have to go to a micro level. Yeah. What we've heard so far is, I'm going to focus it down to micro level, because what we've heard so far is Masoom has talked about it from a macro level, right? From a macro level, I think the essence of why he's done that is The Economist last year in December 2019 described Bangladesh as one of the leading growth countries in Asia, if not the world. And there were comparisons with Myanmar, Vietnam, and some of the regional countries, right? So I suppose what Masoom was doing was showing us a little bit of the confidence level, the banking sector, how the banking and the capital sector has put into perspective, and keep that level up. Because as much as we need to talk about the micro level immediately coming out of COVID-19, what we need to do, right? We need to get a long-term, bigger picture, and that's what Masoom was covering. But I like the fact that he then went down to describe what the government has put in place into cash and for the people and export for oriented developments. It's very unlike the other countries that we had discussed. They all talked about regulations and things that have been put in place for that growth. So I appreciate that. Coming to Dr. Khalid, I like the fact that you spoke about the in-house practice and then the load that they are facing and the issues that they are going to face when dealing and coming out of the COVID-19. You spoke about force majeure, right? A critical thing about people wondering whether force majeure is effective or not. Just a quick general view: force majeure is a contractual provision only if it's stated in the contract, and you must describe it. If you don't describe it, there are certain criteria you need to satisfy and all of that. But you also compare that with force frustration. Now, in the overall picture, the scheme of things, people want to know that coming out of the pandemic, how are they going to face and how are they going to deal with issues that are of concern? Dr. Khalid, you spoke about the digital system in the courts and ordinance and in how a dispute resolution may go one way. So the kind of questions I want to ask is this. There are a couple of questions that are really micro level, 3 questions, we'll deal with that, but we only have about 9 minutes left. So essentially, are there a clear framework put in place in terms of taking care of the people first, right? I know Masoom has talked about investment at a larger scale, but how about the people? Is what Masoom said about the cash and then for export and all of those things, are those the relevant aspects that are taking care of the people? Dr. Khalid first, please.
Well, one of the things that if it is a stimulus package that has been given, it is mostly for the export-oriented industries. Now, we do have, I think, 2 million plus taxpayers, 2.6 million taxpayers who are actually in the private sector, so we're not in export-oriented industry. So I think this is an issue that we are not getting a stimulus in that sector. So that would probably make a number of enterprises going redundant and out of business. And of course, we should support our export-oriented sectors. But if I think a stimulus package, perhaps on a bit of a more fairer distribution allocation, will take in more care and encourage people to fight back in the post-pandemic. I think that probably would be an issue. And also healthcare, healthcare is a big issue. Obviously, health and education both, more needs to be done, I would say, in that.
Okay, thank you. Now, on taking that point, Dr. Khalid, Masoom, you talked about, how the government has parked aside money for cash to be given out and how the government can improve on that or where it can get the funds from. Do you have any additional points, coming out of this straight away? You said about the number of people that are affected by the COVID-19. Are the packages in just a 2-line sentence, the overall packages that you've described, do they take care of people?
Yeah, there are for the the SME, the small investors, there are some NGOs. They are providing that loan that is from the Bangladesh Bank is giving by paying 1% charges, and that's to the commercial banks, and commercial banks will charge 2% and 3% they will provide them. It used to be around 24% interest rate, but the cap is 9%. But the thing is, over here, what is the problem we are facing is not the discharging. There are stimulus package given for the small companies and the big companies. Like the big companies, 30,000 crore taka, and the 20,000 crore taka for the small and medium industries. But these things, and also for the agriculture, the farmers also giving. But this stimulus package is already there, but not that fund is not releasing from the banks, because bank is not getting the assurance from the government. Yeah. Bank is seeking that give us the assurance or the bond, guarantee bond, then we can take the risk, not we are, because these people are already losing money. They don't have any security to provide. So we are not going to take the risk. You take the risk and then you put. But the government is not doing it. What government need to do without any condition, I think, need to spend money or give money to the ordinary people to spend, to consume. Once they consume, the economy will run, GDP will grow.
Okay, thank you. Now, in that, there are three questions in the Q&A section. Two of the questions relate to what you just described. One gentleman said, is there an additional incentive or easiness for foreign companies and entities to enter Bangladesh through the FDI due to the COVID-19? Let's say, for example, manufacturing. And second one is, what is the incentive from BD? I don't know what BD means, or Bangladesh government. Bangladesh. Sorry, my apologies. Bangladesh government for the establishment of joint venture companies during the pandemic situation. Now, when you answer this, right, please take note. Just talking about joint venture companies is too micro. You know, let's talk about a bigger picture about, you know, setting up companies and all of that, and free foreign direct investment. So just a couple of lines on that for Masoom, please.
Okay. So our foreign investment, unfortunately, this year it's reduced to 1.6 billion. Though it was last year, it was 2.88, and then before year it was 3.61. But that's the reason government has taken initiative like One-Stop Service Act 2017, make it easier and one-stop service for all the regulatory bodies. What it happened, you know, recently there is a move from the China. All the factories wants to move, especially Japanese company wants to come to Bangladesh, which is like offered by Indonesia, Vietnam, and others. They're giving some stimulus packages like the tax incentives. Same way, Bangladesh government is giving them, offering more tax incentives in terms of the, you know, the EPZ, the economic zones. Okay, and if you invest there, yeah.
Yeah. So, Dr. Khalid, taking up on that point, there's the last question in the Q&A was that we are a private company from Indonesia, intend on expand the business in Bangladesh, and we would like to establish the local entity company there. Further, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, whether or not the timelines and durations for establishing a company in Bangladesh are still normal, or does it require additional time?
Well, our company laws are very equally applied. So there is no bar for an absolute foreign-owned entity to come and set up companies in Bangladesh. There's no problem. You just go through the usual procedures. So as far as pandemic goes, you know, if the government is shut down, and obviously offices are not working. So once they reopen, things will be business as usual. At the moment, we are just fighting the pandemic. As I've said, the health sector and other sectors are right. But the good news, on the positive note, there is no discriminatory policy. Rather, it is 100% encouraged for the foreign enterprises to come to Bangladesh, or you can even set up a branch office. For example, here, you set up a branch office and operate through your branch and then do business with ease.
And I suppose, right, it also stems on the 2 points. One, Masoom had mentioned about the investment framework and the strength of the country is still shown. Two, you talked about, actually Masoom also talked about how there are 1 million internet users, right? Yeah. And you mentioned
100
million, is that right? No.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, and Dr. Khalid, you mentioned that the digital systems are being put in place, right? Mm-hmm. I remember reading a couple of years back that Bangladesh is about the most advanced tech-savvy nation, one of the most tech-savvy nations. So if you put that all collectively, in answering the question, if your system of registering your company are online and all those kind of things, you could move along. So there might be a greater drive to push those digital incentives and digital drives in a fast pace, right? And then if Masoom's point about, you know, if the government can put aside enough money for the people to take care of their interests, and then consider the banking regulations and the banking framework helps to put confidence into people, right? It is a multi element system that's put into place, and then to move forward the confidence. And I think then there are no other questions. In some,
can I add you 1 minute?
Yes, sir. Sorry.
Like BIDA already for the foreign investors, like the one-stop service, they are providing the online already 24 services like the utilities, like gas, electricity, or even the company registration. Those are the company, manufacturing-based company in the EPZ. But those are the company for the intermediaries, which will come straight away to Bangladesh and do the intermediaries business. They might need to go some of the offices. But if you are the foreign direct investors and the manufacturing sector, you don't have to go to all the offices. It's the BIDA will arrange everything for you. It's already, it's a one application you do and it's finished.
Okay. You know what? We just come up to the end of the hour, and I just like to make 2 points, and I'd like both of you to share your views on it. You know, Bangladesh is coming up to half century in 2021. All right, with the economists saying what they said about Bangladesh last year, and the framework that Masoom had described, do you agree that you are actually quite poised to come out of this and move on a fast track leading to next year, and possibly showcasing that it is a concrete, safe place to do your investments and incredible opportunities? Do you both of you, do you agree with that point?
Yeah, I would definitely agree. We have to fight, and the best part is, come what may, even the garment sector will pick up because they will need clothing, isn't it? I mean, if you look at post-pandemic, the new types of clothes and designs, I think, and that is where our main revenue was coming from. And they will need workers as well. So our stronger platforms will definitely come back strong. And in that way, we might be offering even greater opportunities, because you see the problems with China and other nations that is picking up. We should be able to see the opportunity and make more sort of diplomatic ties and collaborations and move further. So I'll be very optimistic to fight back.
Masoom, on that point?
I think it's going to be V-shaped for us if we just can control our health part. And I think it will be easier. It will not be that far. If we can control it, it's not going to be the U-turn for us. It's going to be V-turn, V-shaped recovery. And there will be many foreign investments from Japan, from Europe, even from America. Even today, our newspaper said that Chinese is giving us the tariff relief. So we can sell anything in China market without any tariff. It means our economy will be more boosting, like what we have the foreign reserve today, 34 point something billion, is going to be, I hope, 50 to 55 billion within 2 years.
Thank you. And then the last point is this. My experience with Bangladesh has been with the lawyers. And I have to say that, my experience has been absolutely incredible. The knowledge and the need for knowledge from the lawyers who are practicing in-house and in private practice has been incredible. And the exchange and wanting to be part of the world and all of that. My view is that sets a clear framework that shows to the world at large that you are a country that has got a structure in place, an infrastructure in place that can deal with the future and can live up to the reputation of what the economists had said about the fastest growing country and lead towards this thing. Your just one-line views on that, please?
Because at the moment, we're not investing much on human resource. What we must have to do it shouldn't be 2% of the GDP. It must have to be at least 6 to 7% of the GDP. Once we can do it, I can tell you within 5 to 10 years, it will be a developed country. There is no doubt, because we have that resource, we have that charisma, we have that ability to forecast these things.
Brilliant. And Dr. Khalid?
I was actually frozen when you asked the last question. I could not hear. Can you repeat? Sorry.
The last question was that the fact that my experience has been with the lawyers that you have, and it's an incredible bunch that are really educated and have a great desire to want to learn and come on the world platform. So with that kind of an infrastructure platform that you have, I feel that you guys are poised to be able to service the world in aspects of banking, finance, and in your investments and all of that. Would you agree with that?
I think, as I said, that every cloud has a silver lining. So I think the online platform will pick up. And once we are flourishing through the ADR and litigation regime through the legal platform, because I have never seen, Anil, so many talks and so many webinars taking place in Bangladesh in my entire life. That happened last 3
years. World over.
Over there. So this sharing of knowledge, even I had to prepare for today, isn't it? So this is where we share information, we learn from you, you learn from us, and that's why I think we can move further ahead to better things in future.
Okay, thank you. To wrap up, we'll just have a quick, our Secretary General will just have a quick word to wrap up this evening. Thank you very much.
Anil, thank you to appreciation to the moderator who's been leading us to very interactive discussion. So what I would like to say is thank you so much for the speakers, Dr. Khalid and Mr. Masroom, for being with us. Appreciate that you make your time. And then also, of course, thank you so much for all participants who are joining today. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Just to wrap up, we also had gone live on Facebook. Next Friday, we go off to Vietnam. The week after that, we go off to Thailand. So do please look out for it, and then we'll discuss similar issues out in those countries as well. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Have a great weekend. Good night.
It was a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you.